Hello, everybody. Thank you for being with us today for this webinar that will be conducted by Evoke Technology, a Bonitasoft partner in North America. I'm very pleased that we are with them today because we'll have the opportunity to hear about a particular use case that our partner Evoke worked in implementing a solution center on breaking really the bottlenecks for enhanced customer services with Bonita BPM, and they will be sharing their experience and their feedback on this solution they implemented at one of the largest register agent service company in the world. So we will obviously focus this presentation having Evoke presenting the solution they implemented at their client. We will have today with us Jason Kuchera, which is the Vice President of Sales at Evoke Technology, as well as Mr. Vara, who's the BPM Practice Head at Evoke Technology. So welcome, guys. Thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you, Olivia.
The way we're gonna start is obviously passing the mic to Jason. After this presentation, I will do a very short one about Bonitasoft, and we will obviously have a session, a moment dedicated to answer your questions. Please note that in the panel of GoToWebinar, you'll have a section which is called either question or chatter box. If you have during the presentation any problem for either seeing our screen or hearing us, don't hesitate to ping your question or your problem in this question or chatter box so that we can respond to it very quickly. And also use that section to mark your question and we will answer them at the end of this webinar. So I guess I'm going to pass now, Jason, the lead to you so you can start explaining us about this project you implemented at your client with Bonitasoft Technology.
All right, thanks again, Olivia. All right, welcome, and thank you again for attending. As Olivia mentioned, I'm Jason Kuchera. I'm Vice President of Sales for Evoke Technologies. Also joining me is Vera Rayapudi, who's one of our BPM practice leaders. So as Olivia mentioned, today we will present our case study on how we leveraged Bonitasoft software to improve customer service at one of our largest customers. And so first I'm going to go over the agenda. And to start off with, and assuming everybody can see my computer fine.
We are actually not seeing your, I'm sorry, Jason, to cut you. We're not seeing the agenda slide. Oh, now it is. Great. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you. All right. So as mentioned, we're Evoke Technologies. To start off with, we're going to give you an overview of who we are. We're going to give you an overview of our client, their business challenge and bottlenecks they experienced before bringing in Evoke and Bonitasoft, and how we use Bonitasoft software to automate their process, provide them a significant return on investment, and we'll talk about some of the challenges we faced. After that, Olivia is going to give another overview of Bonitasoft, and we'll get into some questions and answers. So just a brief overview of Evoke Technologies, some highlights. So we are a software services firm that was established in 2003. We are CMMI Level 3 appraised and also ISO 9001, 27001 certified. We have a corporate headquarters in the U.S. based out of Dayton, Ohio, with a sales team that's spread out throughout the East Coast and cover the West Coast, mainly in Pittsburgh, Dayton, Columbus, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and New York City. We have over 400 people in our company today that focuses on delivery, sales, and administration, over 350 that are dedicated to delivery alone. We are experienced and well-versed in distributed agile methodology. And again, this is just an overview. Here's a brief overview of our solutions, domain expertise, and our engagement models. So as this presentation is focused on BPM services and solutions, which is why we are partners with Bonitasoft. Also, we cover BPO services and solutions, enterprise application development, product development, BI and data warehousing solutions, mobile solutions, We have big data. We also support application migration, maintenance, and support, and QA and testing. And as there's a lot of services there, each of those areas have practice leaders, and many of them are shared services across our organization. Some of the domain expertise that we focus in includes manufacturing. This presentation is going to be around corporate governance. We also have experience in automotive, digital media, communications, banking, financial services, and then engineering, procurement, and construction. Our engagement models can vary. One of the things we take our pride in is our flexibility as a partner. So we have on-site, offshore, and onshore engagement models, and of course we can blend them to meet any of our customers' demands. Now, getting into our client overview. So our client is a leader in business, legal, and financial services worldwide. They're one of the largest registered agent service companies in the world, as Olivia mentioned. They help companies form their corporations, LLCs, maintain their good standing in thousands of U.S. and international jurisdictions. Our client represents thousands of business entities worldwide, including 90% of the Fortune 500 and other top global brands worldwide. A significant part of our customers' business model includes helping their clients in critical and complex processes within legal departments, which require them to maintain and manage sensitive data. So this case study that we're going to get into will talk to you about how Bonitasoft and Evoke partnered to significantly reduce the amount of time required to manage and maintain what used to be a manual process for our customer. So getting into the business challenge. So again, as mentioned earlier, our customer is in corporate governance and legal representation and have many ways that they need to communicate to their customers and their customers' customers. So with that being said, they have over 100,000 customers and queries in their database. Every year, as the customers change their physical addresses, it becomes business critical for our client to keep up to date with those changes. An example of criticality is when the client wants to urgently deliver a hard copy of a document to a customer as per legal requirements, and customer's physical address must be up to date. So our client's manual processes created some risk, right? Needed to address how to improve their processes, and we did that by using Bonitasoft and BPM software. So as mentioned, here are some of the processes and bottlenecks that we experienced prior to implementing Bonitasoft. So one of the things that we dealt with was obviously having more than 100,000 customer records and needing to keep them up to date. We would have to compare them with the latest addresses from the NCOA and other tools that were developed in-house. Then we'd have to filter out which records and addresses had changed. And keep in mind, as I'm going through this, this is all a manual process. Then our customer would have to use their customer service department to reach out to the customers with emails and phone calls to request for confirmation. Again, all a manual process. Then once they got the responses from those customers on the address changes, they would need to review these responses and update the database accordingly, which also became a manual process. So as you could see, the manual process became error-prone. It gave low visibility into the process and the progress because there wasn't much reporting available other than manually reporting. And it took more than 2 weeks of duration to complete the process when they had to go through each update session, and required huge amount of man-hours to complete the process. So then we got into Bonitasoft and how we automated the workflow and the process using the software and Evoke Technologies to implement the software. So I'm going to introduce Vara, who's going to talk to you about how we automated the workflow, and we'll start to get into some of the return on investment that our customer had using Bonitasoft. Vara?
Yeah. Thank you, Jason. Hello, everyone. This is Vara. I head the BPM practice at Evoke Technologies. I'm going to run you through the quick overview of the automation that we have done in the BPM. So if we actually take one step back, the business problem that we're talking about is the physical addresses not being the latest for the end customers, for our client. So our client being in legal representation field, it becomes paramount to have the latest addresses. And so the end customers, when their offices are moved to new locations, so some of them, if they do not send us the information to the client, so it's going to result into bad business from the legal point of view. So having said that, let me quickly jump into the automation process that we did. I'll walk you through this high-level overview in small steps. Yeah. So the process starts with, so what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to explain in a lucid way each of the steps that we implemented, each of the stages in this process, so that in a business context, what are the key benefits, the 4 key benefits that we are talking about are clearly highlighted. Yeah. So the first stage that we set up in this process was extracting the physical address details of all the more than 100,000 end customers of our client from their master database, which is actually Oracle. So that the BPM tool that we use has the capability to connect to Oracle databases as well. And so that's the first step that we set up. And so what we did was, so when these end customers move on to new location and do not send us the information, our client actually has other sources of obtaining address data across the country. So one of them used is National Change of Address Register. So from a subscription model with the postal departments of government, so we actually get this National Change of Address Registers, and various other sources are there for getting addresses. So at this stage, what we do is we compare these addresses to the end user's physical addresses that we extracted from the database. So this comparison is done in this particular stage. And then moving on, what we do is, this is where the Bonita cases kick in. So we actually take out these comparison results, and then all the delta records that have changed, we actually set them up either in the form of spreadsheet or other data files, and then we push them into Bonita BPM platform. So all these records become cases in technical terms in Bonita BPM software. So moving on, what we do is actually we have set up a special stage here in this particular workflow where we obtain the optimized list of contact email IDs. So if we are actually taking one step back, the flow that we're talking about is we've extracted the physical addresses from that we have, then compared with the latest addresses from various sources, and then we've obtained the delta, and then for each of the cases, we're actually running a particular workflow. So this particular workflow, the first stage that we set up in this sub-process is obtaining an optimized list of contact emails. So these end customers that we talked about for our client run into, again, hundreds of people. So probably there are hundreds of people who are set up as contacts for these end users. So it doesn't make sense to kind of bombard all of them with this information. So what we do is, so Bonita BPM actually helped us to set up a nice workflow rules to run and obtain the optimized lists of the contact email IDs. So I mean, it's a kind of a proprietary algorithm that we've set up, but at a high level, it is actually based on the usage of these contacts, and then based on the departments, and based on how frequently they interact with our end with our client. So this particular algorithm is set up. So moving on, then what we do is, so we set up a communication channel to the customers. So the previous step onwards, we are now talking about the Bonita BPM automation completely. So this is a completely automated process. So Bonita takes up each of these cases, and then obtains the optimized list and sends up emails to the obtained email addresses. So in these addresses, the emails that are sent to these addresses contain some special information about client portal link that the customers can access. So there are a couple of provisions that we give here. There is a provision for this end user to reply to the email that he got and provide his latest details, or to confirm that that particular address was correct or not. So in that particular flow, what happens is the Bonita BPM automatically picks up that email and then process it into the tasks lists. And in the alternate flow that we're talking about, where we provided a client portal link to the end customer, the client can actually click that particular link and then log in into the online portal that we've set up. And a special mention about this is this portal is completely set up using Bonita forms. So it's a very already available forms are there, and then Bonitasoft being an open source product, so it was pretty easy to customize these, customize the UI, customize the forms as required for this particular flow. And the next stage, of course, is no, the two options that I talked about, the replies from the end customer, either in the form of emails or in the form of logging into the portal and then confirming the address. So these two again result into the task lists that we talk about in Bonita BPM. So overall, no, the things that we talked about a special algorithm that no, that Bonita's facilitated for us to set up, and then so we're talking about the communication channels that are now automated. No, the client can just reply to the emails, and now we are talking about task lists that have come into the BPM. So the final stage in this particular process is the record specialist, as the role is called at a client place. It's what he does is he actually reviews these case lists and then updates the database. The process is there is an intervention of a human approval process that we set up here, primarily because of the field that our client is in, the legal and jurisdiction. So we actually wanted to set up another stage where there is a special approval process. So what happens is the tool sets up certain tasks lists and automatically drives these cases as tasks to these record specialists. So they can actually go ahead and review what is the updated address, what the customer has responded with, and they can completely see the history of that particular case and then choose to approve it. So there might be another flows actually that can come in. Another flow that can happen there is the customer, instead of responding to the email, he can actually do a phone call and then confirm his latest address. So even those actually come into the form of a case here, and then so that particular address will be updated based on with a comment saying through a phone call it was updated. So that is another quick thing that we implemented. So just giving a quick pointers on this. So we actually saw that this particular dashboards and then the automation of task lists actually. So that has reduced the error-prone process and the manual process very much, and then improved a lot of efficiency into the process. Yeah, I'll quickly talk about the four benefits with respect to the flow that I explained just now. What we're talking about here is a highly improved process efficiency. So as I talked about, most of these stages that I talked about are completely automated, and then the end result is just the task lists and the dashboards that are driven into the various devices. Now, the other thing is the opportunity to optimize and improve further. Now the process is so very clear that you can easily see additional improvements that you can set up, additional stages that we can set up. So in fact, we are going ahead with other steps to improve this even further. The algorithms is another major step that I talked about. And the next one I would mention is the clear visibility to the progress, and the reduced cost, and of course the high ROI. So I would actually, I would let Jason talk a little bit about the statistics that are involved here and what kind of ROI in terms of numbers. Over to you, Jason.
Thanks again, Vara. So here are some specific statistics that we'd like to share with the group here, and show how we've improved the processes significantly using Bonitasoft and Evoke to implement the software. So prior to the process improvement, we looked at the customer's number of records that were being able to be processed in one day, and it was 80 records before implementing Bonitasoft. After implementing Bonitasoft in the workflow, they were able to process approximately 450 records per day, which is a 560% increase in productivity. The number of hours spent to process 1,000 records, and keep in mind they have 100,000 records, so for 1,000 records it took approximately 500 hours, to where after the workflow it took about 90 hours to process 1,000 records. Again, reducing 410 hours from that process. The time spent on notifications to those customers that had changes prior to implementing Bonitasoft and based on 1,000 records was 333 hours, and we got that down to 0 based on it being completely automated and setting up all the benefits that Vera mentioned to you all earlier. Updating record status before the workflow was all manual, and today the workflow is defined and completely automated. We also mentioned prior to implementing Bonitasoft, there was no readily available reports to be able to follow up properly. So the status reports that we've developed by using Bonitasoft are now on-time records that our customer can have access to. So these are some specific statistics. We did not define them in dollar amounts, but as you look at the man hours reduced and the amount of time reduced on the records, I think we could start to put that into some real value, significant value. So we wanted to talk about some of the challenges that we faced and how easy it was to overcome those challenges when it came to Bonitasoft. So two of the main things that we see that make a successful project, is obviously going to be achieving unified user experience very quickly, and then the cross-team collaboration that's paramount to implement Bonitasoft, right? So customers' UX user experience standards needed to be adhered to, which provided a small challenge. Also, single sign-on was required, and we were able to overcome those two areas simply through the open source nature of Bonitasoft, right? So Bonita came to rescue on this, and the UI and service codes was extremely easy, and it made our process a lot simpler to implement. The interfaces with external applications may have caused some of the challenge that we were facing, and we were able to overcome that with using an agile methodology. And of course, Bonitasoft being open source allowed us to implement without much challenge to the process. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to Olivia. She's going to give you some more information on Bonitasoft. Olivia, thank you very much, and you're now the presenter.
Thank you very much, Jason and Vera, for that presentation. So now, if you give me a second, I'm going to share my screen. And you tell me if you can properly see it. They should be fine now. Let me know if you can see my entire slide.
We are good. Thank you.
Great. So thanks again, Jason and Vera, for this presentation. It's always very helpful to have a concrete explanation of a use case at a real client with our partner. Before we turn to the Q&A session, I'm going to rapidly explain as well who Bonitasoft is in terms of a company and a product. In the meantime, guys, don't hesitate, and here I'm talking obviously to all the participants with us today, to mark the questions that you have within the questions section at your disposition in the GoToWebinar panel. We will review those questions and take some time to answer it, Evoke and myself, at the end of this webinar. So basically, who is Bonitasoft and why are we having such great use cases with our partners? So if the slides are passing through right now, few concrete elements to share with you in terms of the company. We've been able so far to interest several technicals profile as the number of downloads of our technology can demonstrate that more than 3 million times. It's true that, and as well Evoke highlighted it during its presentation, we have this dynamism throughout our community members, more than 60,000 of them as of today, that are highly contributing to the evolution of what can be achieved with Bonita BPM technology. If I look now at, I would say, more business-oriented data, in solely 5 years, we've been able to gather the interest of more than 1,000 clients around the world. And to support that, we obviously count on our network of partners. We have partners all around the globe, specialized in different industries or technical approaches to make sure that we can answer every client's demands and needs. But we also have a team, obviously, internally. Note that our R&D is 100% homemade. We are not outsourcing any of our code development, so we basically have the hands on the future of the platform itself that our clients are using and the clients of our partner are using. If now I turn to some facts, and I don't want to brag about it, but it's true. On top of the business recognition on the market, we do have as well recognition of the BPM technical world, notably via some of the premium that are listed, awards that are listed here on the slides, as well as specialized journalists and key assessor on the market, such as Gartner. So it has enabled us to grow significantly and to be able to tackle more and more interesting projects, such as the one we did with Evoke at their client. If we now discuss a little bit the type of clients that are interested in working with our partners and with Bonita BPM technology, as processes are everywhere in every sector, I guess we are too. Companies of all sizes are using Bonita BPM for different type of BPM related projects, different type of BPM architecture, different type of BPM integration aspect. And so even in public and private sectors, we see this tendency growing, and we have the opportunity to implement more and more projects as well with our partners. So here you can see some examples of renowned clients with whom we are working around the globe in the financial sector, in the industry and transportation sector, in education, in retail. There's lots of clients that are actually electing application based on processes, and they do so with Bonita BPM and its partners. So basically, what do we do and what are the benefits? In our 2 days presentation by our partner Evoke, we clearly exposed the productivity and timing and cost and market alignment benefits that can arise from putting a BPM-based solution in place. Bonitasoft, basically, we offer to the clients of our partners a complete BPM stack. We're composed of the studio, an engine, and a portal. Basically, it takes care of the application design up to its deployment, passing via, obviously, all the consideration of tight integration that needs to be done with the existing information system at the client, because you don't want to be reinventing the wheel. The main objective is, again, to enhance the productivity and performance both for the technical user and as well for the business user of the final application tomorrow. So we achieve this notably by the tight collaboration, which is enabled in our BPM suite right from the start of the modelization of the application. It's easy to say, but it's another thing to concretely do it with the solution. What we want to do is maximize the value for the final end user of the application, because basically they're the one who matter, while minimizing the risk. How do we do that? There's cycles in every BPM related application. And obviously, it needs to implicate right from the start again all the necessary stakeholders. So the technical person, the business analyst, the decision maker, the users that are going to be the ones manipulating the application on a daily basis afterwards. We also enable to have this minimization of risks while maximizing value, thanks to the fact that within Bonita BPM, we offer the possibility to change the processes easily and rapidly, as well as their external interaction, by the way, even when the application is up and running in production. So it has a tremendous impact on the alignment of the client using the application with its market, its own client's expectation, etc. How do we do that? And actually, Evoke here presented a case where they used our subscription. This is one thing that we propose to the market. It's a Bonita BPM subscription. They are composed of several elements, but if we were to summarize, they're basically offering, enabling, accelerating developments, integration, as well as secured professional application objectives. So you have, for example, engine optimized for production, flexibility and agility in the integrations you need to do. For example, Evoke mentioned the fact that they were tightly getting with the database that their client are using internally, which was Oracle. So this is the kind of thing that you can achieve with the subscriptions. There's obviously advanced application builders to enable you to build up the interface rapidly for a client. There's several functionalities, features that enable you to bring your the application of your client on the market. Something else that Bonitasoft offers, and obviously in collaboration with this partner, is its expertise. We have obviously different consultant profiles that match all the challenges at any step of a BPM application project, and there are several. It can start with a proof of concept up until the fact that you want to note it before you go into production to verify that everything's going fine, up to the look and feel of the application. There are several ways we can collaboratively work on that. And as last, sorry, but not least, obviously people need as well to know how to use the technology. So in the same spirit that for the consulting expertise, same logic, we are proposing training on our solution for all the type of implicated profiles, business analysts, developers, integrators, administrators tomorrow of the in production application and so on. So yeah, really, I mean, it's the way we work with our partner. Right from the start of the client's project, what we want to make sure is that there's everything, all cards in hands, so the application start development correctly, that the integration is done, that the deployment is successful for not solely our partners but the clients, and that behind that there's technical support obviously provided by Bonitasoft to help the solution have a long life, actually. So now we're going to pass to our Q&A. Here are the details of Jason, so the VP sales of Evoke. If you have any question and obviously want to get in touch with them so you can assess any projects you're having, and my details as well if you're interested in understanding a little bit the way we work with partners around the globe. So let me go now through the questions that have been marked within our questions section of the GoToWebinar panel. Obviously, if there is other questions you want to ask, this is the moment to share this with us in the section you have at your disposition. So first of all, there's a question, and I guess it's going to be either for you, Jason, or Vara. There's a question which is basically, how does your customer authenticate it within the portal you put at their disposition?
Yes, Olivia, this is what I can answer that.
Thank you.
So it talks about authentication into the portal. So as we mentioned a couple of times in the slides, what we did was we did a single sign-on authentication into the client applications directly via Bonita forms. So that's the point we're talking about, right? We talked about user experience being seamless, right? So what we did was, Bonita being an open source tool, it was pretty easy to go ahead and customize to the UX standards of the client, as well as provide the single sign-on. So essentially, what we did was, at high level, to talk about it, we just replaced the authentication component to actually go ahead and use customers authentication component. So it worked pretty well. So it's as simple as that.
Okay, thank you, Var. And there's another question, which is, and I'm going to read it, how does implementation of this task contribute to the company's strategic goal? I mean, was it really important for the company? So I'm going to either let Jason or Var answer that, and I guess there's several layers for that question. But if the solution has been implemented, I guess it was somehow important for the client with the ROI that we've been seeing.
Yes, Olivia. What happens is, probably I can give a business context, and then now we can appreciate the weight of this particular use case. As we talked about, this field that the client is in is legal representation. So they actually have the clientele who actually within few hours, within a particular day, or within a particular time frame, the client is supposed to respond or communicate to these end customers. So it cannot be understated at all. It's huge business loss when there are miscommunications happening on those fronts. So it definitely is a huge thing.
And for how long now your client is using the application you put in place for them with Bonita BPM technology?
So we are using it about so we actually run it in cycles. So to give you a straight answer, it's about 1.5 years that he has been using. So he runs on periodic cycles.
Okay. There is another question popping up, and I think your use case explanation interests a lot of people. So let me go through it. How much time and effort went into developing the solution?
Yeah, this solution was about including the understanding of the existing process and implementing across the teams, no, integrating with other systems, everything. It was about 3 to 3.5 months kind of effort that we
Wow.
spent in, and then no, it was about a team of 6 people.
Okay, thanks. There's a question, and I guess it would be for me to answer. Um, there's a question which is basically, will this always be a freeware? Is there any plan to make it subscription license based going forward? So let me explain you. Bonita BPM business model. We have a dual license business model. We have our community edition, which is available and for everyone to download, which is obviously open source. And on top of that, for the project of our clients and the clients of our partners that required advanced professional features for both development, integration, and post-deployment consideration, we have subscription that are available and are on a, as their name states, they are subscriptions. So they are either on a yearly base or a multi-yearly base, and our clients and the clients of our partner are using it to make sure they have all the advanced element they require to match with their project requirements. It could be technical requirements, it could be integration requirements, it could be advanced user interface requirement, it could be the possibility to correct errors on the fly in the process while it's already into production without, freezing the entire application for the ultimate users. So there's the community edition, open source on one hand, and on top of that, we propose subscriptions. We have 3 editions of them. So coming back to the question that are popping up in our interface, let me read that and share it with you. So my understanding from the case study is that a proprietary method was implemented to compare the address data. Where within the automated process was this implemented? Are there ways to interface custom code with Bonitasoft?
Yes, Olivia. To elaborate that, see, that question has like 2 or 3 parts. So to address the first part, the automated process was not in place prior to the Bonita implementation. So we went ahead and automated all the stages that are possible in this particular flow, and we added on the proprietary thing that like Glenn noted. But to talk about the custom code being interfacing with BPM Bonita BPM tool, Bonita BPM is a completely open source tool. So and it provides you RESTful API to connect to and get data and then update data whatever you want to do. So it's completely open source. And yes, you can connect your custom code to Bonita and then implement any functionality that you want to.
Thanks, Vara, for your response.
No problem.
We're going to give you extra minutes in order to mark your question within the questions section of the GoToWebinar. So please feel free to enter them while we have the chance to have with us today Evoke to answer them regarding their particular use case and application they implemented at their client. So we're going to give you some seconds, minutes in order to mark your question. If there's any other questions, obviously, if after this presentation you do have questions popping up, do not hesitate to contact Jason and myself so we can continue offline this questions of yours and maybe this needs of yours in terms of BPM implementation. There's a question which popped up, and I guess I will be the one answering it, which is basically cost related regarding Bonitasoft subscription. First of all, let me precise that our subscriptions are composed of many things. The several development licenses to enable collaborative development, a production license to obviously be able to put into production your application, as well as technical support provided by Bonitasoft, sorry. There is as well consultant days included in order to help you out, put in place the best practices right from the start for your application project. And there is as well the advanced features that I mentioned, some of them as examples that are included in this subscription. Our metric is not the number of users or that will be connected to the application or the number of processes that you'll be able to model, and deploy with the subscription. We have unlimited possibility for number of users and concurrent users connected to the application. You can develop as many processes as you want with a subscription. And there's no as well a limitation on the number of CPU cores that are going to be linked to your production server. Our metric is basically pretty straightforward. It's the number of instances that are executed on a production server on a yearly base. An instance, a case being the execution of a single process, a parent process, regardless the number of interaction it can has with external system. And in terms of pricing, we have different tiers of number of cases that are at your disposal to make sure we can match with the concrete consumption of the application which is put in place. So I'll be pleased to get back to the person who has this question to get into more details. So I think there's no other question for the moment. If there were some questions that fall into the crack, I excuse in advance and we'll make sure to answer them via email directly afterwards, contacting you one by one. And if there's nothing more to comment, I would like to thank again our partner Evoke, and particularly Jason and Vara for being with us today to share this this project that you implemented at your client, this use case. This webinar has been recorded and will be available for you and maybe the colleagues that were not able to attend. So it will be listed on the website, so don't hesitate to come back online in some days and you'll be able to see it. So thank you again very much, Jason and Vara, and thank you for our audience for joining us today for this webinar.
Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you, Olivia. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Bye-bye. Have a nice day or a nice evening, depending on where you're located on Earth. Bye-bye.